theory of planning is evolved in two different directions. One, people assuming that you can really plan efficiently and making it more and more sophisticated, taking the welfare function into account over protracted periods and so on, and then maximizing a welfare function. Then you get a whole bunch of targets, but that has no relationship with the real world. And there's a funny story about how among the many people who came through was one of the first Nobel laureates, Professor Ragnar Frisch. He was a planner in one. So he would take what we call in economics an objective function, meaning how much employment to be traded off against how much income against something else, and then over time how much income now versus how much income in period 2, then against how much income in period 3. So that's called intertemporal, over time welfare. So he couldn't plan without that. He had to get from somewhere India's objective function laid out in these different dimensions. Then he would maximize it given the resources. So the funny story was that he didn't know how to proceed in India, or anywhere for that matter, because how do you get an objective function for a country or a government? And so when he went with my boss, Pitambar Panth, who was a great planner, a very interesting man. And he took Frisch to Prime Minister Nehru. So, so Professor Frisch thought here was his chance to find out the country's objective function. So he kept asking Prime Minister Nehru, how much income would you sacrifice now for more income later? How much of that would you sacrifice for how much employment and so on? So he kept bothering, Prime Minister Nehru about these trade-offs, you see. And then, Nehru got fed up and said, goodbye. Then he called Pitambar Panth in and he said, never bring that man back to me again. But that was theoretical planning, you see. So in theory, if you had all this information and you knew how many resources, which itself is subject to how you organize your economy. Many of us, fell victim to the idea that if you're behind the curve, you're starting late, then you have to accelerate the system. But to accelerate the system meant the government had to intervene and make it move faster. So maybe the car could go into first gear, but to make it go into second gear, the government also had to assist, and so on. So that was one kind of thing. And two, when your resources are scarce, it is counterintuitive to think that you can leave it to the market. Then you feel you've got to, make sure nothing is wasted, and so on and so forth. Like, everything was run, all the airlines were run on a tight ship. There were no spare planes. If something went wrong, the whole system was, so that is a very short-sighted policy. But you say, one spare plane? That is a waste of, resources. So the ideas were wrong in terms of how you look at the consequences of scarcity.